Am I the asshole for telling my friend her child's name was the same as a very prominent athlete? Two of my very close friends are expecting. The husband and I are both fans of the same NFL team, and they share the last name of a very prominent player. Yesterday was their baby shower and they announced both the gender and name, which was the first name of the player who they share a last name with. The two names are both very common, but put together I think a lot of people would at least recognize it as the player's name. Afterwards I was chatting with my friend, and I complimented the name, saying it's like NFL player. She said, yeah, that'll be his name, and didn't seem to be aware of the athlete whose name her child would share. I told her, no, it's the same as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. She seemed surprised but laughed, and I thought it was odd but no big deal. Last night, after the shower, I got a text from my other friend. He asked why I told his wife about the name's origin, saying that if she didn't know I shouldn't have told her, and now she doesn't want to name the child after him. I told him that I assumed she knew about the player and didn't care. If she didn't know, I think she deserves to know that her child is sharing the name of a prominent person like that, especially when there's a good chance he was actually named after him. My friend is pissed at me and said I was meddling in his business. I didn't mean any harm. Am I the asshole? You are not the asshole if true. This husband intended to trick his wife into naming their child after a sports figure. You would have no reason to suspect that, and it would not be ethical for you to join him in that purpose. Not the asshole. You spoke innocently, thinking she knew. As would hundreds of others when told the name. You are her friend as well as his. You do need to share this info with her, so as not to participate in the apparent trick on her. You can't pretend you didn't know. He's the if he's tricking his wife into this. Not the asshole. You spared your pregnant friend from feeling like an idiot. Obviously other people knew about the name coincidence and said nothing to her about it. That's like having a booger on your face the whole day and everyone can see it but nobody's telling you that it's there. Speaking as the naive person who was talked into naming their child after a type of train, not the asshole. The husband was clearly hoping to snow her into using the name, knowing she'd veto it if she knew the origin. Edit. I love the name, just not the trickery winking face. Not the asshole. How were you supposed to know it was a secret? Daddy O got caught and isn't happy. He was hoping nobody at the shower would catch it. Not the asshole. If he wants to name the kid after his favorite player, she should know. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that she needs to get over me missing the birth of our daughter? I work in a job where there are certain times that I do not have access to my phone or I am in the middle of nowhere. These times are well scheduled in advance and basically take up my whole day. There are a ton safety regulations I have to follow during this time. My wife was pregnant and at the time I planned to take off work near her due date. Unfortunately, she went into labor early, about a month early, and I was on an inspection. I only learned about her going into labor when I got signal again. By the time I got to the hospital, she has already given birth. This was about 1.5 years ago and I am involved father. The issue is every single time we have an argument she will bring up I missed the birth. It happens almost every single time, forms serious arguments to what fast food should we get. Today was my breaking point. We got into an argument about her wanting to change the daycare situation. She wants to change daycare to one closer to the home. I do drop off and she does pick up. The only one closer to our home is too expensive and we cannot afford it. In the middle of the argument she pulled out I wasn't there for the birth again. I told her she needs to get over that and stop using it in every fucking argument we have. She called me a jerk and left. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, but I wouldn't have brought it up at that moment, during the heat of an argument. I would wait till after things cooled down and talk to her and say how hurtful it is that she keeps bringing that up and that she knows that you had no control over it. If she keeps trying to use it against you, that'd be a more serious conversation. Info. Did she have anyone with her during the birth? Did baby have to stay in hospital after birth for more than a few days? I ask because I was like your wife. In a way I still am, but I've talked about it both to a therapist and my ex that missed the birth. It's scary and I'd hazard a guess a little traumatic too. That doesn't mean she gets a free pass to throw it in your face at every disagreement. But if she's still hurting from it, don't expect it to go away with one conversation. Not the asshole, and I hope you guys can get through it together. Edit. Words. Info. Does your work not have an emergency on-site person that can be reached in case of, well, emergency? Have you thought about couples therapy? She has unresolved anger towards you. I think you need a professional to sort this out. Not the asshole. This is the definition of both, not fighting fair, and concealing the real issue. You didn't miss the birth due to negligence or apathy, you missed it due to work requirements. Work is what, I assume, provides income and other necessities. Does she think you should have predicted early labor and what, quit your job? I recommend counseling to hopefully work past this because her continuing to bring it up for this long is a sign that something else is really the issue. Does she not want you working that job? Is she deflecting from some other marital issue? Does she think you aren't involved enough? Not the asshole. You had made plans to be there, but due to your job you had no way of knowing that the baby came early. While it's understandable for her to have wished you could be there, she needs to accept that it's not your fault, that there was nothing you could have done. And more importantly, she really should not be constantly bringing this up anytime you two have an argument. Marriage counseling might help, but ultimately this is entirely on her. She needs to accept how things went down on the day of the birth. Or if she can't accept it, then she should divorce you. But she can't just continue with this weird middle ground where she keeps raising this. Am I the asshole for refusing to support my brother financially when he is the reason I was disowned? Okay, so I, 29M, was disowned by my ultra-conservative family at 22 because my younger brother, 26M, outed me to them. He didn't mean to be cruel or anything, but I wasn't ready and my parents freaked out. They kicked me out, stopped supporting me, and I had to figure out how to survive on my own. I worked a bunch of jobs to get through college, and yeah, I made a decent life for myself now, but it wasn't easy. Fast forward to now, my brother comes to me out of nowhere asking for money. Apparently he's in financial trouble and can't pay the rent. Our parents have also cut him off, calling him an embarrassment because of his debts. He says I'm his only option for help, but honestly, I'm still so angry about it, and I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive him. He's apologized before, but I'm not sure I've really forgiven him. When I just told him no, he lost it. He just blamed me and said that if he hadn't outed me, our parents would still be taking care of him financially. Like, what? This totally blindsided me, and now I don't know how to feel. Some of my friends are on my side, saying I don't owe him anything, but others think I'm being too harsh and should just let it go. Now I'm torn. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Okay, so I, 29M, was disowned by my ultra-conservative family at 22 because my younger brother, 26M, outed me to them. He didn't mean to be cruel or anything, but I wasn't ready and my parents freaked out. They kicked me out, stopped supporting me, and I had to figure out how to survive on my own. I worked a bunch of jobs to get through college, and yeah, I made a decent life for myself now, but it wasn't easy. Outing someone is never okay. You figured life, finances out on your own, and now baby bro will have to do the same. Info. What was the context for him outing you? You say he didn't mean to be cruel, but surely he knew when he was 19 that your parents were going to freak out. Not the asshole. He is a full-grown adult and no one is obligated to support him. Not the asshole. Your brother isn't the sharpest tool in the box, is he? In Ta you had to figure it out, so does he. If you're not ready to let it go, you're not ready. I'm appalled that he has the nerve to blame you for the fact that he outed you, and he connects the outing to his being cut off. And what about your parents? Do they have any kids left? They sure sound quick on the draw with disinheriting. Anyway, let your conscience be your guide. Do what you think is right. But your brother sounds really entitled to ask for money and then blow up and blame you for his problems. Bailing him out might just be the permission he needs to not change. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for cussing out the host for commenting on my wife? I, M31, and my wife, F28, have been together for 4 years, married for 1. She is intelligent, kind, funny, compassionate, and loving. I am very lucky. She also has an amazing figure with a typical hourglass shape. She usually dresses formally and conservatively for work, dress code, and in comfortable casuals around friends. Fitting or revealing clothes are generally for when it's just the two of us. I think she looks great in everything and never gave this much thought before. We went to a pool party hosted by one of our common friends, F30. Most of us were wearing normal clothes during brunch and changed into swimwear after. The murmurs started soon as my wife stepped out in her bikini. Most of them were surprised but complimentary, but our host and a group of her friends became noticeably colder from this point, with comments about how she's being attention-seeking and vulgar. My wife wasn't wearing anything different from the other women. If anything, she was a little more covered up because she had a scarf around her waist and her bikini top was more like a regular brassiere. I was already pissed off, but because they were talking amongst themselves at this point I decided to just ignore it and not create a scene. When my wife took off her scarf thing to go into the pool though, our host yelled, "Oh come on," and then said to her friend in a loud voice, 50% of the people there could hear, that my wife is an attention whore. I admit I lost my cool and yelled back at her that she was a jealous bitch and a terrible host. My wife and I left shortly after. Here's why I may be the asshole. 1. It's been brought to my attention that attention whore isn't literally calling someone a whore. I wouldn't have called her a bitch had I known this, but I still feel somewhat justified because whatever it means, it is still pretty offensive. 2. We were guests in her home. This is my wife's main point. She thinks we should have just left and reduced our interaction with that group. 3. We were one of the only 3 Indian families invited. There is an element of representing my whole ethnicity when we are in a mixed group that's very real. The other 2 Indian couples are critical of me. The others, 8 white couples, 1 black, found it funny, are mostly on my side. I am not counting our host and her friends that she was talking to. 4. There were 4 children present, all under 13, and this is something I feel pretty shitty about too. They aren't the host's kids, and their parents brushed off my apology, but I feel terrible about this part. Despite all this, they've been insulting my wife for 30 minutes straight. How is that okay? So, Reddit, am I the asshole? Info. Why are you friends with this woman? This can't be the first time she's been gossipy and shitty. Why attend anything at all with such obviously mean-spirited people? Not the asshole. Just because you were in their home doesn't mean they get to berate your wife. You did good defending her in front of many people. Not many husbands will do that. Not the asshole. And good on you for standing up for your wife. The fact that they commented on your wife's body with children present is the main problem, not you calling the ringleader a B. And if you and your wife do choose to have your own children, you want to show them to not allow people to demean them the way they did your wife. Those people, the hosts, are not your friends, and you should do more than reduce your interactions with them. You should cut them off. Not the asshole. Shirley could have handled it better, but it's kinda commendable you stood up for your wife in a covertly hostile situation. Sounds like you're better off than the other guy posting about his wife's bikini at the party they went to. So skimpy she had full butthole exposed and so small it kept coming untied. I would have tossed that one out of my house for attention whoring and putting bare butthole on my patio furniture. Sounds like they are jealous and your wife was respectful as could be. It's a pool party. She wasn't close to nude and shouldn't be expected to wear a swimming burqa, unless that's your thing. I honestly would have done the same thing. It's not like you will ever go back to the house or even hang around them again. Let them know how much of an asshole they really are. That's your duty as a husband. It's in your vows to protect her and they were the threat. Fair play to you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I would be proud if my husband stood up for me when I've done nothing wrong.